We are fresh off the big game, which I'm calling it that because I think you can be sued if you use the actual term. Not sure. Anyway, yesterday, not far from where we're filming, was the big game. And during the big game, they have a big halftime show, which featured people like Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, and 50 Cent, all performing together at SoFi Stadium. In the game that ended up with the Rams having won. Now, a lot of people have had a lot to say about this Super Bowl performance. From isn't it ironic that now we're the generation that they're doing like older throwback artists for? Like it's not the Rolling Stones. It's like, oh wait, that's what they're doing now with 50 Cent. But that's a lot of people to fit into 12 minutes too. A lot of people seem to really like it. Some though, not so much. So we're going to touch base with their fifis about this halftime show. Charlie Kirk got a lot of attention for tweeting, "The NFL is now the league of sexual anarchy. This halftime show should not be allowed on television." Which, by the way, if there was a league of sexual anarchy, I would, 1, want to become a member, and 2, definitely would not be allowed in. But that said, Francesca, it seems like a lot for what was a fairly mild halftime show.
It's just amazing to me that Charlie Kirk will take to Twitter to openly just reveal so much about his own sexual proclivity. Like, I am very backed up right now. Yes, the dry spell has lasted 4.5 years. Maybe I should lay off the carbs and the white supremacy, okay? Like it's so funny when it's a perfect Ted Cruz tweet because it's a little bit like dunk on me, like he just wants it from the internet, Because speaking of sexual anarchy, he wants it from the internet.
That's true, and that's the thing. I mean, look, Charlie Kirk tweets that, and obviously he is, I think, understandably going to get more attention than if Francesca and I sat down and thought deeply, took psychedelics to really delve into the deepest parts of our ideology and what we think about society, and we came up with the deepest thing that we could think of. It would not get 1% the attention as him just willingly opening himself up to being dunked on for being a ridiculous goober. That's just the way the internet works. And
I thought you were gonna say sexual anarchy. I was going a whole other place, and we just like took a lot of psychedelics. Yeah, we just leaned. I was like, damn, you're going to have that kind of Valentine's Day, okay, John?
No, but maybe that's fine. But so he does this, and look, a couple important questions before we get on with the commentary. One, did he draft this tweet hours before the Super Bowl even? Like, did this have anything to do with what actually happened?
No, can we just understand that these were like 5 hip hop moguls, right? 1 R&B mogul, as in Mary J. Blige. The only person who was like a star who was wearing like short shorts. I mean, she was basically showing a lot of her legs. Maybe he had something to say about that. That was offensive. But if it were anyone else, I mean, usually it's like it's Beyonce's being too sexual and political, right? It is Cardi B is being too sexual, even though Cardi B performs right after Dua Lipa, and Dua Lipa is white, and nothing gets said about it. It is really because the performers are black. Like, come on. If it had been the lead singer of Maroon 5, whose name I've like burned with a magnifying glass out of my brain, I've sort of like lobbed off that piece. Adam Levine. Adam Levine's tattooed like, buttery body, which honestly, like wasn't doing it for me. It was just too corny. It was the most cringe of cringe. Then he would be like, that's all American. Goal. Like he would have had no problem with that.
Anyway, yeah, perhaps that's true. Well, I mean, look, we can do all sorts of hypotheticals, but I mean, the cheerleaders were showing far more. They tended to be blondies, I noticed. But yeah, no, it was Mary J. Blige showed a little bit of ass cheek, and she's black. That is what it is. That's all it is. We're not going to pretend that that's not what it is. Now, and there's also obviously a huge amount of hypocrisy here because people have found that apparently during the Super Bowl where Beyonce was performing, he had a tweet about it being fire, fire, fire. Like that's the same, at least in terms of sexual anarchy, probably more sexual anarchy, but you were okay with it. Oh, was that not how you were getting your clout at that point? So anyway, that's all true. Everything that we just said is true. But also, here's something that we can't miss. like so much millionaire and billionaire money goes into trying to create an aura of a thing that isn't true about the right, that they're free thinking, that they're cool, that they're anything other than what they are, which is they're Bill O'Reilly. There is not an inch of difference between Charlie Kirk and Bill O'Reilly, or Ben Shapiro and Rush Limbaugh, or any of their new politicians and Newt Gingrich. It's all the same. It's all PR at the end of the day. This could have been a tweet sent out by Sean Hannity 30 years ago. Yeah. And probably was at that point. It is actually the same thing. There is no independent right media, not in any way that means anything. They agree on all of the same policy goals. They use all of the same xenophobic, hateful tactics. And their approach to culture is as ridiculously old school Christian fash as it's ever been for any of these. It's all the same.
And it's almost heartwarming that it's the same. Like, it's a little bit heartwarming that this little dog and pony show continues to go around and around and around the circus. And you're like, oh, there it is, as the world moves on. It's just frustrating when our leadership isn't able to just completely like pop that balloon so easily and be like, you guys are all ridiculous. And yes, AOC, I know, had a tweet about it, but she's not in Democratic leadership. It is just so easy to be like, hey guys, QAnon is satanic panic 20 years later.
That's all it is.
That's literally all it is, and it's still the culture war, a moral, sort of moralizing culture war to distract from the fact that you're not doing anything to actually help people in their daily lives. That's it, and you're making a killing off of it.
Yeah, you're 100. That is exactly the same. The Patriot Convoy is just it's the
Tea Party.
It's the Tea Party. That's all it is. It's all the same. They don't have any new tactics, because they don't necessarily need to. They have the exact same goals and the same overwhelming monetary advantage. So they're just gonna use it again. But anyway, yeah, look, a lot of people had a lot of great responses. We're not gonna go through a ton of them. I just love Andrew Lawrence's reply to Charlie Kirk, which is just this screenshot from The Simpsons. It just, here's the thing, I don't actually believe that Charlie Kirk, as obviously lame as he actually is, was watching it and was like, no, turn off the TV. Gotta find if anyone else is like, who thinks he was actually doing that? It would be bad to actually be this lame, but to be performatively this lame is even lamer. And that's what he's doing there. And for whether it's honest or whether it's feigned, AOC is totally right when she says, like I said, weirdos. That's the tweet that she sent out. And it's totally true. They are just a bunch of very, very weird people. And look, at some point I will actually write a book about right-wing masculinity because it's the most fascinating thing in the world. But you can pretty much bottom line it as it's one part being terrified of unrestrained femininity and female sexuality, and then 3 parts blaming every one of the problems you've caused for yourself in your life on that. And also black people. That's really all it is at the end of the day. And Charlie Kirk gets that. He knows what he's selling and who he's selling it to, and so he's gonna keep selling it.
Yep. I'm surprised that no one made a thing of the lines in both Dre's song, like still not loving police, which is like the most benign line, like still not loving police. Like who loves police? But then Kendrick Lamar's line, that Fox News made a big thing about that. He then put in a later album, which is, and we hate Popo, want to see us dead in the streets for show. And he kind of, I think they bleeped out Popo, which was a weird, like, is that a slur now? Or are we N-wording Popo? Cause I feel like that's kind of apples to oranges, but I am surprised that not enough was made of those two very explicitly anti-cop lyrics.
Well, it is shown up. It might get a little bit into our next story, but they definitely had an issue with some of the content. Ben Shapiro has like tons of tweets freaking out about, again, what an artist put in a song. He's freaking out about. But here's me and Francesca on the censorious left. We just want to cancel everything. Anyway, one other thing really fast, and acknowledging that technically these are 2 different humans, sort of. Charlie Kirk and Tucker Carlson, like they are among the more influential people on the right. So I would really love to know, and maybe they disagree. Maybe this is an actual disagreement in which Charlie Kirk gets to be the lamer of the 2, I suppose. But so Mary J. Blige showing a tiny bit of ass cheek is sexual anarchy. Can't be allowed, ban it. Like 2 weeks ago, Tucker Carlson was doing a monologue that included the green M&M, you will notice, is no longer wearing sexy boots. Now she's wearing sensible sneakers. Why the change? Well, according to M&M's, we all win when we see more women in leading roles because leading women do not wear sexy boots. Leading women wear frumpy shoes. The frumpier, the better. That's the rule.
Right?
You remember when for like solid 48 hours, he was incapable of having an erection because he was no longer turned on by cartoon candy? Like, so what, are we desexualizing everything and that's what's wrong with the left? Or are we uber sexualizing everything? Which is it? Like, what's the correct level of you being turned on for us to operate under?
Dude, I mean, you're asking some deep questions. I realize this all sounds ridiculous, but it is very sad how much of our politics is determined by right-wing fragile men's boners. I mean, honestly, I mean, the stock market is also very similar. It's just like it gets scared and it goes down and then it goes up and then there's confidence, but there's not confidence. The whole world, if you think about it through that lens, John, you and I could talk for many, many hours in our sexual anarchic explorations. I just want to say though, like,
put it that way. There go the rumors. Anyway, yeah, no.
Let's give them something to talk about. The last thing I wanted to say was just very briefly, I just think it would have been really fun if there had been one sexy M&M plant in the Super Bowl halftime show. Doesn't have to be Mary J.
Great.
Doesn't have to be her, but like a few backup dancers being sexy M&M.
Like left shark, but an M&M. That's what we need. Yeah. No, you're totally right.
But it's the Super Bowl.
But the Super Bowl, totally. Yeah, isn't that where it was? I don't know. I don't know pop culture. I don't watch this stuff. Anyway, I avoided watching the Super Bowl entirely because I was afraid of being exposed to too much pro crypto talking points, and it turned out that was a good thing to be afraid of because it was everywhere. But you were totally right. Right-wing performance anxiety is ruining America, and it needs to stop. There are a lot of issues with me. My erection will never impact your life ever in any way, positive or negative, by the way. So don't get your hopes up either. Like, it's never gonna have an effect on you. The right just can't leave it in their pants. Anyway, let's talk about some other stuff.
Got weird.
Oh yeah, I made it weird.
You made it weird.
That is generally in our power dynamic how it works.
Move on.
I make
Move
it
it along.
Okay, take another psychedelic. For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.